Well, problems for Chelsea. We'll be talking about them more in the final part of today's show. But I think it's only right that we now focus on Manchester City and the form that they've been in. 5 wins in a row in all competitions. How apt then that we have the Manchester City correspondent from The Athletic, Sam Lee, with us. Sam, it's been a while, hasn't it, that there's been this much positivity around City?
Yeah, and I feel a bit bad, coming on, probably was on in December, November. Bit of a different story, to be fair. And then coming in, again, like we were talking about Liverpool before, relative problems. They're still doing all right, but not quite their level. And that's what City have been like for most of 2020. And then in the autumn, yes, kind of stodgy football. I think Guardiola was focusing on the defence.
Yeah.
Because after the first home game of the season, conceding 5 against Leicester, he knew he had problems already. And then the Leicester game, I think he was just like, this can't go on. Tried to tinker with it a bit. Against Liverpool, they drew. But teams are still steaming through them on the counter-attack. The Spurs game, they were OK, but a couple of lapses, Spurs beat them. Since that Spurs game, the defence has been tightened up. But the turning point was the draw at Old Trafford about a month ago. Because everyone was watching that game going, what's going on?
Why don't you go for it? Yeah.
Make some subs, try and force something. Nick, you City fans in particular, thinking United are there for the taking. They're not doing well. I think it was just after United had gone out of Europe. Go for it, bring someone on. Yeah. He didn't want to do it, and I'm pretty sure that's because he was like, well, we're in control of this game. We don't want Rashford going that way. We'll take the point and we'll go with it. But he thought this can't go on. So since then, he's committed men forward. He's worked out ways to be as stable as they have been, and still get men forward. And Chelsea at the weekend in particular, and last night we've seen, City looking like they're back.
You know what? With that United draw, what I read about what Pep Guardiola said afterwards, and he's almost saying like, yes, I could have gone for it. I could have went for it and maybe won the game, but I think he was more concerned, Kels, with maintaining the defensive confidence that the team needed, and what I think they've built on from then to now, where you look at them now and you feel like even without that focal point front man, they're so confident in the defence and what the defence is doing now, but you can see that's like surging through the team because they're going forward with such a bad gay abandonment. It's just like they look like our City were because of the solidity of the defence and how well the defence is playing now. And I think that psychologically, we're all saying, why don't you go for him, like you're saying there, Sam? Go for United, they're there for the taking. But what he was doing was a longer plan. It's brilliant coaching. It's fantastic man management and coaching what he done there, because he'd rather take that draw and settle for a great defensive display, because he knows that once they can build on that, they're going to be quite difficult to beat.
You're going to agree with that, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah,
everything's built on the defence.
It's absolutely right. You have to start there. Let's not forget that they lost the big father figure at the back, Vincent Kompany. It's not someone you can just replace like that, for the stability of your defense. And that was a concern for a little bit, and after the departure of Otamendi, trying to play Fernandinho in it. And now things seems good with Ruben Dias at the back, and the resurgence of John Stones is important. And now you can see that for the other new players that come, it was just a matter of time, because Pep Guardiola know how he want to play. And now the team looks very fluid on the front foot, and it's a real joy to watch.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this return to form for John Stones, because I don't think too many people saw it coming. The fact that when they brought in Ruben Dias, I think it was just expected that he would play alongside Laporte, but he's been phenomenal, hasn't he?
Yeah, and the thing with Stones, and the thing with why people don't really expect it or didn't expect it from him, was the last time he had a consistent run in the team was genuinely 3 years ago. And you know how quickly things can change in football, And at top clubs, you don't normally get that time. He might have even left in the summer, but the whole Eric Garcia thing, Barca came for him. City thought they were going to sell Eric Garcia in the summer, so they went, OK, we'll keep John Stones. I'm not sure it was something they were entirely on board with. And then even at the start of the season, he got injured again. But Guardiola said last night, in terms of his resurgence, he said the most important thing is he can play 5, 6, 7 games in a row. So there's that element. He's fit at the moment, but it's just the confidence. Yeah. It's just, you can see it in his game. Like the way he celebrated the goal last night, I didn't know much about the goal, but it's that he's earned his way back into the team, and it was here and there. So it was games against Olympiacos, and Guardiola, what he did, he kind of had like a strong team in the Premier League and a bit of a changed team for the midweek games in the Champions League, and Stones was in that midweek team. And he was playing well enough. And then Laporte had a little dip, and Pep thought, well, I'll put Stones in. Yeah. And then he was like, he's good. And then he couldn't drop him for that United game. But every City fan, I can almost guarantee, was waiting for that United game and thinking, I'm not sure, you know, he might have a mistake here. And he came through it, and he was great. He was one of the few City players to come out of that game thinking, this guy had a good game. And he's built on that ever since. He's been fantastic. He's had issues off the pitch, which Guardiola's even mentioned, which is big. Not always a manager will discuss that. So that's been part of it. Guardiola's willing to talk about that. He seems to be in a better place. And also just the team's more stable. So last season, I talked about Rodri earlier on and all the people running past him. So the defence was exposed and Stones was there. Stones was maybe next to Fernandinho, who did well enough, but sometimes he could get caught out because he was quite slow. Otamendi would be there, you know, he'd go to ground very easily. Sometimes they played Rodri at centre-back. It was all over the place, really. But now there's fewer counter-attacks coming through. Stones is better equipped at dealing with them. But Diaz just loves defending. And it must be great for Stones to play with somebody who's a proper defender. I can't remember all of your centre-back partners, but were there some who just loved the fact that you were there because you just did everything?
Good, if you look at it, good partnership every time have two very different players. You have the ones that are a little bit better on the ball, the one is better on the man. It's every time different. You have the better defender, a little bit of the better player. And that's
Ferdinand Vidic.
Ferdinand Vidic, you know, Terry Carvalho. You have Carvalho. We know what he's good for. He's gonna challenge you in every way that is allowed in the game. Well, John Terry, it's good. Right foot, left foot, short pass, long pass, and it's a good mix. And it seems now that the mix is right. Ruben Dias, you can see in him. It's a joy to watch for me because for a long time I was like, is a central defender position dying or something? Because now it's like we were putting centre mid in defense. That was it was looking like. But now with Ruben Dias, you look at him and say, he enjoyed the one-on-one battle. He enjoyed diving to make a block. And it's great. It's great for Man City.
I think you mentioned, Sam, about the personal stuff. I don't think people understand how much that affects when you're playing. Because with John Stones especially, it's like people were waiting for the mistake. You can almost feel like when he went onto the pitch, he was expecting it at some stage to come. And, you know, he's obviously sorted all that stuff out. And he probably goes to the football match and goes to training in a much better place in where he is. Because when I've watched his last few games, you know, you're waiting to see, okay, let me see if he's not taking liberties. He's not doing it. He's passing quickly. He's making tackles. He's doing all the stuff that when you saw it before, you think, oh, look, here we go. He's not doing it. He's cut it out.
Is that concentration?
It's concentration and it's clarity of mind on what you're doing now. Because it's obvious whatever was bothering him before, whether it's off the field, on the field, with the amount of pressure that he was under, England and Manchester City, and to perform, and with everything what's going on, it's gonna be tough for you. And maybe he couldn't see it. He couldn't see what he was trying to do. He's trying, obviously, he's trying. No one wants to make mistakes. But it seems like with everything what he's sorted out off the field, he's coming onto the field with more clarity of mind, knows exactly what he's doing. And I think that he himself may have thought that he might have been out at some stage. He's got back in, and I think he's recognised his opportunities there now.
Yeah, City actually haven't lost when he started, so that just shows the impact that he's had. Yeah, and it does feel like a lot of people are very, very pleased for him, which maybe says a lot about him as well. And of course, Sam, they've done all of this at the other end of the pitch without a striker or a recognised striker. Yeah, so earlier in the season, we were kind of talking about, you know, they were scoring one goal here and there. They beat Burnley 5-0, but there wasn't many, you know, goal fests, and you associate that with City, and you could say, oh well, they haven't had a striker. Aguero's been out injured. Jesus has had his injury problems. And you kind of make excuses for them a bit, rightly so, because it's difficult playing without number 9. But then you realise last few games, they've done it anyway. I think the difference is because since that derby at Old Trafford, the 0-0, Guardiola has thought, well, I've got the team solid now, and I didn't want to disrupt that at Old Trafford, but I need to make this team solid. I need enough men back without sacrificing what we've got further forward. So since then, he's pushed Gundogan further forward, and he's had the left-back come in, which is much more like what they did when they were winning titles. The key, though, I hope we wouldn't get through this without mentioning Cancelo. Since Walker's been injured and been ill, it's a difficult situation for Walker. He might be like Laporte in that he might just not be able to get back in. Because since Cancelo's been playing at right back, and he was doing well enough on the left, but since he's been at right back, he's been going forward, and he's been like kind of in that number 8 position with De Bruyne and Gundogan. So there's 3 of them there.
offering like, outlets on the edge of the box. You've got the front three moving around, and all of a sudden, before where you might have had issues where it was the front three and maybe Gundogan tried, De Bruyne, everything by himself, trying to make all the assists himself. He can share the load. The opposition defence, they've got more men to think about. They're thinking, where's this Cancelo come from? What are we doing with him? It's easier then for the forward and also the wingers to make that happen, to make the space they're playing on the stronger side. There's a lot to be said for the inverted wingers because they can come inside. Mahrez, Sterling, they can come onto their stronger foot, goal threat. That's obvious. But if you can open the game out and get more men in there, more men to create the chances, and then they're still not great at taking chances, I've got to say that. They are very wasteful. And if they were on top of their game, they'd have beat Chelsea 6 or 7 0. But they're creating a lot more now because they're getting more men forward.
But you mentioned like when the Mahrez and Sterling would come in, teams catered for that, and they can block them out and close them out. And it was the width what I thought they had a problem with. But then when you see them being that wide, then you've got, like you rightly mentioned, Cancelo and Gundogan and De Bruyne, and then you Foden it. It seems now like they've got so much potency in those areas. You might get Kyle Walker getting into that area, but he's not got the quality that Cancelo's got. So in respects of a creativity behind whoever finds themselves furthest forward, like you say, they're creating chances, they're just not taking them as well as they should do. But what I saw against Chelsea was a beautiful thing to watch after about 15 minutes in the way they moved Chelsea about. Chelsea looked confused and you could see the confidence draining out of them after that first chance what De Bruyne missed. But seeing Gundogan as the furthest player forward, when you're looking at it now, seeing Foden the furthest
There's Cancelo there as well on the edge of the box.
On the edge of the box, getting ready to go.
And then Bernardo joins him. They both want the ball, both hands in the air.
It's just like
they're getting the men forward now.
And look how many people Chelsea have got back, but they've got no chance of getting anywhere near them because, like Pepper said, listen, we've gone back to what we do: 1,000 passes, pass. We'll find the space, we'll make and then we'll execute it. And to be honest, that game was the one what made me say, they're back. They are back. They've got the swagger.
With what you said is him, Guardiola, having sorted the defense, have now given the confidence to the two players.
Well, you were saying
forward.
earlier about Liverpool, when the fullbacks, the fullbacks are thinking, maybe we can't. But exactly.
And now you can see the same situation where now you can see Cancelo is up the pitch on almost every goal, and that's where you see they're confident that they can take the pressure at back.
And you mentioned very briefly before Kevin De Bruyne as well. Every time we talk about Manchester City, we talk about him, but I don't think we've seen him play in so many different positions. But I think when that team sheet came out on Sunday against Chelsea, I don't think too many of us expected Kevin De Bruyne to be playing in that false nine role, did we? And he obviously did brilliantly, as he always does, whatever position he plays. Yeah,
and again, that allows, Bernardo Silva's had a bit of a rough time of it because I mentioned earlier on how he slotted in for De Bruyne in that 2018-19 season, and he was fantastic. It's probably his best position, but you can't hope to play in De Bruyne's position every week. But they managed to find a way to get him into that at Chelsea. And De Bruyne, he's looked a bit jaded recently. And there's been, we talked about giving the ball away. He's probably done it a bit more than he usually does. But he's still the creative guy, and he's so intelligent, and there's so much energy. He could play that, that false nine role. He could drop off. He could play him anywhere.
A little while back, do you think he was starting to get a little bit like, it's all on me and I need...
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He looks like that. He's a bit ratty as a captain.
Yeah, he looks like that, doesn't he?
He's not the most constructive. It's not come on, guys. It's always.
Is he abrupt?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the cameras have picked it up as well. Him having a go at teammates and stuff like that. He's a bit of a moaner. I was speaking to a journalist in Belgium recently, and I said, he's been like this, and he started laughing. He was he's been like that since he was 9 years old or something. So he's not like the arm around the shoulder kind of captain. He will moan, but. I mean, again, it's De Bruyne, isn't it? It's the star player. And so, he probably was feeling, against Liverpool, I remember, everything was just going through him. And then as good as he is, it's easier to defend against, isn't it? And like you say, with the wingers coming inside, you can funnel them in and shut them down. De Bruyne has not really got the options. It gets hard, but he's so good, he's still been able to do it. But now he's got so many options, it's just game over for everyone else.
I was going to say that it does feel quite scary, doesn't it, maybe for the opposition, because they've done all of this without Aguero, without Jesus, and they're coming back now as well to form, so they're going to have even more strength in their armoury.
Yes, they do. And, with the names that we mentioned before, like Bernardo Silva having a difficult patch, João Cancelo and John Stones. Many of us have written off João Cancelo sometimes, or John Stones. And now they're in the teams and doing well. And they will remember the bad times they had. And I think that's why I believe that they will be able to maintain that success. Because as a player, you remember the bad time and when you were not playing and it was difficult and you were maybe thinking about leaving, but you stay put and you come back in the team. And that's fantastic for a player to have done that. And I think it will make them stronger.
How important is the momentum in the dressing room, though? Because all of a sudden it can switch, and I guess you're flying then.
Well, the thing is that what's good about when you say that, the momentum, it's like when it's not going well, like a little while back with City, where you're starting to think, well, man, what's happening to City, man? It's Liverpool really shaking their confidence. How they're going to get it back? It comes down to the strength of the players you've got in the dressing room. And, you know, like I say, a little while back when we're just seeing it all coming through, De Bruyne, Sterling's form kind of dropped off a little bit. We didn't know what was going on with Phil Foden. He was in and out. You know what I mean? Aguero not in. Jesus. It was just all up in the air. But then, for some reason, he's solidified the defence, which I don't... You have to have a solid defence to build on, because when you know you're not conceding, you feel more freer in respects of going forward. And I think that now that he's done that, everybody's seeing that we can get back to what we were doing. We've got more than just Kevin De Bruyne in respects of creativity. Yes, we haven't got the front man, but then you might have Jesus coming back. And I'm just hoping that it's not someone like Phil Foden who has to be the one who relinquishes his place in the team, simply because I think he's done more than enough to earn the right to have a run in that team and be that guy to play in that team. Because for somebody who doesn't play as frequently as I believe he should, every time he comes in, he plays to a level that you think to yourself, for somebody who's not playing frequently, his level is so high. It's so good. So you're hoping that at some stage that he's going to be able to keep his place, but they're going to need a forward at some stage, and someone's going to have to lose their space for it. But I don't know who that's going to be. But City at the moment, they're looking imperious, man. They're looking good.
We talk about them looking imperious. They surely are back in this title race if they were ever even out of it. These